Hi, we're Jackie and Richard from Early Retirement Wanderlust.
In one of our previous videos, we talked to you about some of the routines and goals that we'd like to start embedding in our retired life. So in this video, we want to take you through how we've got on over the last few weeks. So I think one of the biggest things that we really need to start thinking about is our budget and our weekly budget. We made a decision that we would take out £120 a week in cash and try and make that last for all of our food and our entertainment and petrol. It doesn't include things like our bills. We have got a contingency, but we really need to try and rein in what we're spending. So the budget. We didn't do too bad. We did go over budget, but we will talk a little bit about why. So we spent £82.75 in Aldi. That was our weekly shop. We have done a video on how we planned a week's food for that. And actually that worked really well. There was no food wastage. We had 7 really good meals. We entertained and had a barbecue for some of our neighbours. And we had an amazing week of food. We also spent £7.66 in the butchers, so that takes us to £90. We decided, because it was really sunny, that we were going to go away to the Lake District twice on 2 different breaks. So we had 5 days in the Lake District, and we did stay on a campsite because it was a bank holiday weekend. Normally, we might try and avoid staying on a campsite so we wouldn't have that fee, and it was £54, which did take us over our budget. So we did have to take another £50 out. We spent £170 in the week, but we had an amazing week with 5 days away.
And it pretty much covered everything.
Yes, that is covering everything. There was £20 of petrol in there that took us to the £170.
And the cheeky bonus of the campsite showers not working meant that we'd got a few pound coins spare, and we spent that on ice cream. We were really pleased how our meal planning went this week. On our previous video, you'll have seen our weekly shop, and it covered us really well. We had pretty standard breakfasts, and we managed to make some pretty economical lunchtime decisions.
Yeah, we took packed lunches out onto the hills with some fruit and refillable squash bottles.
So when we were on our travels, we didn't really find the need to actually have to go into shops and buy extra stuff there. And then it's quite reassuring to just have a real set meal plan. I know it might sound a little bit OCD in terms of knowing what you're going to be eating each night, but it just makes organisation that much easier. And whether we were at home or whether we were in the van, we stuck to that meal plan, and it gave us a real variety.
And I think we actually ate really healthy compared to how we have been doing over the last few months, because we'd made sure that we'd got a coverage of all our fruit and veg as well. Alongside eating healthily and keeping to a budget, one of our next biggest considerations is actually making sure that we keep active. We used to both be members of a CrossFit gym, and we both used to train regularly, which we haven't done as much recently. So this week, it's probably been more active than we would normally be, because we've been to the lakes and we've been bagging Wainwrights. We've actually walked over 74 kilometres, and we've done over 3,750 metres of elevation. For people that have seen that I'm doing my Mount Everest challenge, trying to climb the equivalent of Mount Everest 4 times in a year, that's nearly half an Everest just in 10 days.
And it's quite unusual because it's a bit of a knock-on effect for being away in the van. And we find that when we are away in the van, we're so much more active in terms of not only high-level walking, but just being outdoors and moving. We had some real clear aims of wanting to run regularly and wanting to cycle regularly. And that just wasn't going to happen this week because we were out in the hills and we were having a cracking time. So I think in early retirement, one of the things that we have to learn to balance is it's all about movement and it's all about activity. And it doesn't necessarily mean one particular type of activity. And for us, as Jackie says, it was a pretty exceptional week. The legs are really, really tired now.
As I said earlier, the biggest killer of our budget was our goal for van life. We decided that we wanted to make sure, now that we're really retired, that we get away a lot. And the weather was so lovely that we decided we'd go to the Lake Districts twice this week.
it was just really nice to be spontaneous. And for our first trip, we just saw the weather forecast at the end of the weekend, and we knew that being early retired, we had the opportunity to just go. And we did. And we went up to the lakes. We had a lovely couple of days. We kept it as cheap as we possibly could. So we wild camped in the camper van. We took all our food that we'd planned to eat for those couple of days with us. And we don't think we spent anything while we were there, apart from the energy of going up and down hills. And you know, when we're away in the van, we feel that we sleep better, we relax more, we digitally detox, and it was a great time away.
It was. And then we were actually supposed to be in Leeds on a reunion weekend for all our university friends, but it's been postponed. So we saw the chance again, great weather forecast, to disappear back to the lakes.
This time though, we had to make a decision, and we knew that the lakes were going to be really busy with it being a bank holiday weekend. So we picked a campsite that we felt would be a little bit out of the way. It's a really rustic campsite. We've done a previous video on Seathwaite camping, and we had a great weekend.
Yeah, we've really missed being out in our van. So this week's just given us that little bit of a thirst for travel again. I think ready for us to start planning some trips to Europe.
And going on the campsite was wonderful because we met loads of people, all with the same interests in terms of camping, outdoor life, and the number of people that you bump into and you talk on an evening, because when you're at Seathwaite Farm camping, there's not really much else to do on a night apart from talk or sit around a fire, which is really good for the soul. When we early retired, we knew that one of the biggest challenges moving away from work was also moving away from regular relationships with people and friendships with people. We added on top of that relocating to a different county, and we're now living in the Dales, away from where a lot of our friends are. So maintaining and keeping those relationships is really important to us.
And we've had a busy week. We have, starting off with our son coming up for the weekend with his girlfriend, which was lovely. We had a really nice weekend being active and barbecuing. Then we had a day going to see your mum.
And going to see your mum.
Yeah, we stayed with my mum overnight, which was lovely, last Thursday.
In between our Lake District trips, we managed to arrange a bit of an impromptu barbecue with our neighbours either side, because with all the building work going on, we haven't really had a chance to entertain them. And it was such a lovely evening, spending time with them and learning all about their time in the village.
Yeah, and lastly, we invited the lady who sold us the house, who also lives in the village, to come and have a look at what's happened to the house. So yeah, it's been a busy week, being more social and actually mixing with people. My target to actually get the blog out on time every week hasn't gone so well, mainly because when we've been in the Lake District, the campsite that we stayed at is in the middle of nowhere. There is no reception for miles. So yeah, I got the blog written, but I couldn't upload it.
And I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenges for when we're out and about adventuring, because we're not always going to have phone signal. And a similar excuse for the YouTube production is that videos are going out late, because we filmed, we can edit on the road, but if we haven't got any phone signal, there's no way that we can upload it. So again, we're not doing the blog and we're not doing YouTube as a job. So yeah, sometimes we just need to sit back and let it happen and just publish as we go.
Something that I wanted to put into my goals is to start reading again. I did say before, since lockdown, I just haven't been able to focus and concentrate reading. Probably because we haven't had any Wi-Fi this week in the Lake District. I've actually managed to read a book and a half, which is a miracle for me. But actually, I've also really enjoyed it. It's been nice just getting the duvet out and snuggling up with a book.
And I've been an absolute cheapskate. I went on to Amazon Prime and their reading collection, which is all free as part of the membership. And I've opened up a new genre. It's still within historical fiction, but it's now about the Saxon battles against the Vikings rather than the Romans. So I'm particularly proud. I'm about halfway through a book, and again, just really enjoying it. One of the things we found that's been really useful this week is knowing that this video was coming, and we felt really, really accountable, knowing that at some point we're going to have to say how we've done. And I think that's a really important point in terms of when you're setting routines or targets to try and meet. Actually tell people that you're going to do that, because it's definitely kept us on track, and it's definitely kept us a little bit more driven in what we've been doing this week.
We know that routines don't just happen straight away. We know that it's just something that we're going to have to try and get ourselves into. I don't think we made a bad start. The budget we may need at some point to think about whether we need to up it to £150 a week, so that we don't always feel guilty that we've not stuck to the £120, because we're not going to travel. That was the whole reason that we've retired.
But I think by setting an arbitrary target of £120, it does just keep us that little bit tighter, and it makes us think a little bit more about maybe some of the things that we can pull back on. So it's been a really useful process, and something that we've got to keep going over the next few weeks.
Yeah, so we will send out intermittent YouTubes about how we're getting on with our different targets, just so that we, one, keep ourselves accountable, and two, it just makes us keep thinking about whether we're sticking to them or not.
So that's it from us. We'll see how we go over the course of the next couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye.